Week 21 of the 2025-26 NBA season is over, and it was a crazy week, which means, of course, it's time to run it back. This is Run It Back NBA Week in Review. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at thebeachbasket.net, and this is the show where we recap the week that was in the NBA by sharing the only objective NBA power rankings, the Stats Standouts. That's the best to do it by average in the week that was. And then we take a look at viral news in the NBA in a segment we call Full Court Press. No shortage of viral news this week. Finally, we highlight the marquee matchup for the week to come. Let's start like we always do with the only objective NBA power rankings anywhere. These are the top 10 across both conferences, and it's the only objective NBA power rankings you're going to find anywhere. You can find more about these rankings and see the entire list at thepeachbasket.net. Let's take a look at the top 10 at the conclusion of week number 21. Now, for the last few weeks, there hasn't been a lot of movement in and out of the top 10. It's just been movement inside of the top 10. That all changed as teams are starting to get hot, and we see that movement into and around the top 10. We'll start at number 10, like we always do, with the Cleveland Cavaliers. They did not have a great week. They were 2-2, and it cost them. They dropped 2 spots and settle at number 10 after week number 21. The Denver Nuggets were also 2-2 in week number 21, but it didn't cost them as much as it cost the Cleveland Cavaliers. They just don't move at all. They are at number 9 for the second week in a row. Now, debuting in the top 10, they haven't been here in a while, are the suddenly very hot Los Angeles Lakers. They were a perfect 4-0 in week number 21, and they jump up all the way from the number 12 spot to take over number 8, and they might be getting hot at the right time. Team that's not getting hot at the right time are the Minnesota Timberwolves. They were 1-2 in week number 21, and they stay at number 7 for the third week in a row. The Houston Rockets were 2-2 in week 21 and also do not move. They're at number 6 for the second week in a row. The Knicks were also 2-2 and also didn't move. They stay at number 5 for the second week in a row. And the Boston Celtics were also 2-2 in week number 21, and they just cannot seem to move out of the number 4 spot. They settle in here for the 6th week in a row. Now, the number 3 team is the best team in the East. That is, of course, the Detroit Pistons. They were 3-1 in week number 21, which isn't bad at all. It was a team that was just a little bit better with a little bit more quality wins. We'll get to them in a minute. The Detroit Pistons are the number 3 team after week number 21. Number 2 are not the best team in the West, but some might argue that. The San Antonio Spurs were 3-1 in week number 21 and did just enough to leapfrog over the Detroit Pistons to take over the number 2 spot after week number 21. And the number 1 team was perfect. Only the second team in the top 10 to be perfect in week number 21. That is the Oklahoma City Thunder. They were 2-0, and that was enough to keep them at number 1 for the second week in a row. That's the objective top 10 list for week number 21. If you want to see where all 30 teams land this week, please visit thepeachbasket.net. Now let's shift our focus to the players. These are the best to do it by average in week number 21 of the 2025-26 NBA season. These are the best by average in shooting, rebounds, assists, blocks, steals, points, and game score. We start with probably the most obvious points leader we've had at the end of any week. How do you drop 83 and not lead the NBA in points? Bam dropped 83 and led the NBA in points. Now, it's interesting when you look at Bam's week. He had a bunch of very average games for Bam. He had 20, he had 21, he had 24, he had 24 again. But then in the midst of all of that, right in the middle, he dropped 83. 83. We'll talk more about Bam's 83 as the show goes on. Bam led everyone at 37 points on average in week number 21. Colin Sexton played 1 game, made 7 3-pointers to lead the NBA, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander played 2 games and made 13.5 field goals on average to lead everyone. When it comes to rebounds, the best to do it in week 21 was Nikola Jokic. He played 4 games, pulled down 15.5 rebounds. The best offensive rebounder was Daniel Gafford, played 3 games, pulled down 5.7 offensive rebounds, and Nikola Jokic pulled down 13 defensive rebounds to lead everybody. The top assist man was Cade Cunningham, played 4 games, averaged 13.3 assists. Blocks was shared by Victor Wembanyama and Donovan Clingan. Both played 3 games and both averaged 3.3 blocks to lead the association. And steals was also a combined effort. Nikola Jokic played 4 games. Chris Dunn played 4 games and both averaged 3.3 steals to lead everyone. The top game scored, the best overall game for the week of, or for week number 21, belonged to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He had a very respectable, very good game score of 37.5. Now let's take a look ahead at week number 22. Now, I tried really hard to find the best game in week number 22 for y'all, and there's just not a lot of top games, or a lot of games rather, between top contenders. There are some intriguing matchups, though. The suddenly finals favorite San Antonio Spurs travel to LA to take on the hot, but now hurt, Los Angeles Clippers. And the Knicks take on the Nets in the Battle of New York. Neither one of those teams is particularly exciting for anybody outside of the fans of those teams, but that's the best we got in week number 22 as we get closer and closer to playoff time. Now we're going to end with the segment we call Full Court Press, where I normally ask AI for its thoughts on viral trending NBA news and see what is going on as we head into week number 22. I didn't do that this week because I knew exactly what AI would tell me. It would say, Bam. How do you not talk about Bam? We witnessed something, NBA fan, that was one of those moments, one of those where were you when you heard it moments. It was, love it or hate it, it was that type of moment. Now, personally, I was at Disneyland when I heard that he had 31 after the first quarter, and I jokingly said to the people I was with, he's obviously going for 120 points. Now, I wasn't off by much, which is crazy. In this age of the three-pointer, a team is not out of it just because the other team has a big lead. We got to know that by now. What matters more is having a big lead with just a little time left on the clock. Now, if we're honest, that really didn't happen for the Heat until about 9:05 to go in the fourth, when Bam hit a and one to put the Heat up by 22. Now, 22-point lead with 9:05 to go is comfortable, yes, but it's not insurmountable. You all got to admit that is the moment the ESPN's win tracker put the Heat's chances of winning at 99.9%, but the Wizard hit a three next time down, and that dropped. So it really wasn't the time to take Bam out. But the bigger story, of course, was that after that and one, Bam was at 70 points. Why is anybody faulting Coach Spoelstra for not taking Bam out of the game at that point? His team was up, yes, but there was still plenty of time left. And more importantly, when would Bam ever be this close again? His previous high was 41. He was enjoying a once-in-a-lifetime, lightning-in-a-bottle moment. Why would you take him out? If you would have heard that somebody had 31 at the end of one, Bam's name was not the first one that pops into your mind. You were thinking maybe Luka or Curry came back, something. Not Bam. You had to ride this out. You had to see what happens. Now, things started to get a bit odd, admittedly, at about the 3:36 mark. The Heat were up by 25 after another and one by Bam. Now, note that the Heat were not pulling away, but time was winding down. Now, in a normal game, this is when Bam might have come out. But if anyone thinks this was a normal game, they weren't watching the game. Oh, and after that and one, Bam had 77 points. 77 points. You got to keep going. You've got to ride this out. To Bam's credit, he never stopped playing a complete game. In addition to his points, he was dishing out assists. He was giving up the ball and blocking shots. He was playing defense in the final quarter. Now, the only thing I can agree on with the naysayers is that it was weird to watch the Heat intentionally foul to get the ball back. Yeah, no argument from me. But other than that, this was legit. The Wizards are the worst defensive team in the NBA. They literally tried their best. Yes, that was their best. They triple teamed Bam and they couldn't stop him. Of course they fouled him. Now, how is that Bam's fault? I, for one, have no problem with Bam's 83, and I'm looking forward to the day someone hits 90. I get the sense it's coming and it's coming soon. Wilt's 100 might one day be matched or passed. How crazy is that? That's it. Week number 21 of the 2025-26 NBA season is in the books. Join us again next week after week number 22 when we once again run it back.